Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. The Fall of Ulduar miniset is coming next week, but there's still some more Hearthstone to be played before that, and in this video I'm going to show you the top 15 best Hearthstone decks that you can play before the miniset arrives to change up the meta. Overall, the meta right now is one of the most balanced meta games that we have ever had in Hearthstone. There are lots of viable options. This list includes 15 decks that you can use to climb, so that's a lot of options right there. And also there's no clear winner, like the top 5 decks actually from this video are all neck and neck. So there's plenty of decks that you can play, plenty of absolute top decks, and no single deck that would be just overwhelmingly powerful. So balance wise, the meta is in a great spot. Obviously, balance and fun are not necessarily the same thing, so whether you enjoy the meta is a different thing, but at least you have a bunch of options and nothing is overwhelmingly oppressive. So let's take a look at the top 15 best decks. At number 15 we have Totem Shaman. Last week I featured Nature Shaman. It looked like Nature Shaman is making a comeback, but now that we have more data about Nature Shaman, it's obvious that Totem Shaman is actually the superior deck for most of the ladder. There are specific meta pockets, especially in Top Legend, where Nature Shaman is competitive when it comes to Shaman decks anyway. Nature Shaman is a very high skill cap deck, so you need to be pretty good at playing it in order to get any results, and even if you're really good, it's still not one of the best decks. So it's one of those decks you often see like pro players tweeting, hey, this Naga Mage is so great, or this Nature Shaman is so great, because they feel like, hey, it's gonna be awesome because I can get results with this when some other people can't. But actually they would just be better off playing some other deck altogether. But anyway, Nature Shaman, if you really know what you're doing, then yeah, you can sort of play that. But Totem Shaman is easier to play, it's better for the meta in the majority of ladder, and it's a fun deck. So Totem Shaman currently the strongest Shaman deck overall on the ladder. At number 14 we have Relic Demon Hunter. Relic Demon Hunter has not really changed, so it's just the same. It's just the same. So that's Relic Demon Hunter's biggest problem. There's nothing new to it. You can also play Outcast Demon Hunter. There's less statistics available about Outcast Demon Hunter. It seems that it's potentially okay, but because of the uncertainty, I did not include it in this top 15 list, and I chose to go with the more certain, more reliable performer, Relic Demon Hunter instead, the best Demon Hunter deck in the game at the moment. And at number 13 we have Control Priest. Yes, Control Priest finally making a comeback to the top list. Control Priest has been hovering out there. It's slightly above 50%, it's not super strong, but it does have some pretty attractive good matchups against Mech Rogue, against Druid. It's also strong against some of the Control Warrior decks, but some of the Control Warrior decks are being able to challenge it, so that's not always the case. But it also has a number of pretty bad weaknesses, so Control Priest, if you are a Priest aficionado, then yes, Control Priest, you can play this, although it's not the best Priest deck, because the best Priest deck is coming here at number 12, and that is Undead Priest. Undead Priest has not changed. Ever since Ammon Tool was added to the list, Undead Priest has been the exact same list, aggressive list, and then you have Ammon Tool to swing the game in your favor at the end, if it's a close one. And, well, there's not much more to say about Undead Priest. One of the good things about Undead Priest right now is that Control Warrior numbers are on the way down. Control Warrior is still a super strong deck, but at one point it was like closer to 20% of the ladder, and now it seems to stabilize at around 10% of the ladder, so Undead Priest enjoys that. At number 11 we have Curse Warlock, and this time I'm featuring a bit of a different Curse Warlock list. There's not a ton of stats available about this list yet. But what this list does is that this replaces the Chaotic Consumption package, the Mech package, with an Ignis package. So we have Ignis, the Eternal Flame, we have Watcher of the Sun, so we forge some stuff and we get the Ignis weapon. And it looks like the Ignis weapon might help Curse Warlock performance a little bit. So that's an interesting, slightly new variant of Curse Warlock that I'm quite intrigued about. Number 10 we have Thaddius Warlock, and Thaddius Warlock's main ticket to fame is that Thaddius Warlock is very, very strong against Control Warrior. Thaddius Warlock is the main Control Warrior counter on the ladder. Other than that, it has a bunch of roughly even matchups, it has a few bad matchups, it's kind of mellow, really. doesn't invoke great emotions for or against, but that strong control warrior matchup, that's the big selling point of Thaddius Warlock. And at number 9 we have Rainbow Mage. It's the return of Mage back to the top list. Rainbow Mage fell out of this list because there were so many control warriors on the ladder. There are still a lot of control warriors on the ladder, and Rainbow Mage is not happy about that. Rainbow Mage is not happy about that at all. However, there are also now a lot more Warlocks on the ladder, and Rainbow Mage enjoys that matchup a lot, so Rainbow Mage is finally able to be on its own, be a strong deck again, the strongest Mage deck. The other main Mage competitor would be Naga Mage. Naga Mage is also very difficult to play, and even if you play it really well, then it's still actually just inferior to Rainbow Mage, like even top 1000 Legend. Then you can like play a more difficult deck, and if you pilot it perfectly, you're still doing worse than just playing an easier deck. Yeah, that's a great value proposition right there. So if you want to play Mage, you want to play Rainbow Mage. And Rainbow Mage lists. Rainbow Mage lists are basically 29 cards plus a bad legendary. This one is Sladin Asyar. It could also be Norganon. I mean, both of them are pretty miserable, but there just doesn't seem to be much better things to do with Rainbow Mage than include one or the other, so that's how we roll. Number 8 we have currently the only competitive Death Knight deck, and the only competitive Death Knight deck remains Unholy Death Knight, which added the Primus from the new expansion and was like, yay, we got a new card, wonderful, otherwise it's just the same. And it's still a pretty good deck. It also has a pretty decent matchup against Control Warrior, which is a major asset. However, now there's a lot more Control Warlocks on the ladder, and its matchup against Control Warlock is not that great, so that has pushed Unholy Death Knight down a little bit, but it's still competitive and viable. At number 7 we have Aggro Paladin, and I'm still featuring Wooling's list. Yes, I know there is another list that runs Snowflipper Penguins. I was intrigued about that last week. We didn't have enough data. I thought that okay, it's safer to still include this list. Maybe the Snowflipper list will be able to compete or not. And it doesn't. Nope. This one is still superior. Snowflipper list is not terrible. You can play that and you can climb with that, but Wooling's list is still better. Overall, Aggro Paladin has been hurting a little bit lately because the rise of Warlock. There's a lot more Warlocks on the ladder. Aggro Paladin doesn't have a good matchup against Warlock, so now Aggro Paladin is actually worse than Pure Paladin. It was better than Pure Paladin for a couple of weeks there, but now with the rise of Warlock matchup, Pure Paladin being better comparatively against Warlock than Aggro Paladin, means that Aggro Paladin is now the weaker of the two Paladin archetypes. And at number 6 we have Drum Druid, and if you play Drum Druid, you should be playing the zombie list. The lingering zombie list does not run Astalor, does not run Topior. There's also a list that runs Astalor and Topior. You could do that, it's totally possible. The difference between the two. The main difference is that if you run Astalor and Topior, then actually Control Warrior matchup becomes slightly favored instead of slightly unfavored. So you flip that matchup around. However, you also lose a lot more from your Warlock matchups. Your Warlock matchups are still going to be above 50%, but you're just going to be so much weaker in the Warlock matchup. So this one is the superior list. This is the Drum Druid that you want to play right now if you want to play Druid. And at number 5 we have Pure Paladin, the Jack of all trades, master of none, still a very solid performer. Jukebox Totem, now staple in the archetype, doing really well, and Crusader Aura, and boom. A little bit more well-rounded deck than the Aggro Paladin, and with the meta changed a little bit, Pure Paladin has been able to adjust to that better than the Aggro version. And Pure Paladin is one of the best decks in the game. Basically these top 5 decks, you could put them in any order really. All of these are really strong decks and easily able to climb. And at number 4 we have Arcane Hunter, and Arcane Hunter is interesting because first of all it survived the nerfs, and second there's going to be a great Arcane Hunter card in the mini set. So we can expect Arcane Hunter to become stronger, whether the overall meta changes so that Arcane Hunter is going to shine, that's of course impossible to say, but in isolation Arcane Hunter is going to be a stronger deck after the mini set, and it's already a strong deck, so just a great option overall. And the third best deck in the game is Mech Rogue, and I have been trying so hard to find some alternative to the Death Rattle package, the Mothership package, because those 4 slots are just not doing much in the deck. And this is an alternative. In this version, instead of the Death Rattle and Rush Mech summoning package, you run Astalo, Potion Master Putricide, Posig, and Prison of Yogg-Saron. So you run 4 legendary cards, although 2 of those are free, so you kind of only run 2 legendary cards. Is that useful? Well, Posig is not doing too great in the deck. Prison of Yogg-Saron is not doing too great in the deck. Basically, you're trading that big package for Potion Master Putricide, which is actually doing really well in this deck. You don't have any concoctions in this deck. You only have Putricide. So you play Putricide at the right time, kill off some stuff, and get some random concoctions, and that's how you roll. And that seems to be a big improvement in Mech Rogue. So maybe the other 3 slots still need some more work, but Mech Rogue, it just keeps being strong, and there's still maybe something that can be done to make it even better. And currently the second best deck in the game is Control Warrior. When Control Warrior can even afford to tech in a Rustrot Viper, Control Warrior does not want your opponents to use Ignis weapons against it, and it's just a very solid deck. You want to play a 30 card build. The Renatal versions are still doing poorly, but Control Warrior overall keeps being extremely strong. Also, Miniset is going to give Warrior some great new cards. I don't know what cards they're going to be replacing for those yet, but Control Warrior only looks like it's going to get better after the Miniset. But as of right now, the top deck in the game is Control Warlock, and it's Control Warlock with 2 copies of Doomkin. Yeah, Doomkin still below average performer overall in the deck, but it earns its place. It earns its keep. It's good enough to run. And the version that runs 2 Doomkins and cuts the Prison of Yogg-Saron for a second Doomkin is the superior list. Prison of Yogg-Saron, it's like Prison of Yogg-Saron is always a consideration. It performs decently sometimes. Sometimes you put it in the deck and it ends up actually being bad. But whenever there's a deck that will play until turn 7, there's a question, okay, would I actually want to put Prison of Yogg-Saron into this? And if you're like a player who doesn't have a very good collection, and of course you have Prison of Yogg-Saron because it's a free card, then yeah, you can always consider, hey, I just throw this Prison in here because I will replace whatever card there is that I don't have with this one and possibly do better. But overall, Control Warlock right now best deck in the game. The weakest best deck in the game we have had for some time, I suppose, because while it has a number of good matchups, it also has a number of weaknesses. So overall, a very balanced meta, lots of decks that you can play. The top 5 from this list are basically dead even, so any of those, pick what you like, and you can climb the ladder all the way to Legend and even within Legend, until the miniset arrives to change the meta again. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.